Bom dia a todos, boa tarde e boa noite, dependendo de onde vocês estão. Bem-vindos à nossa web series de hoje, Harnessing Digital Disruption, Protect Your Core and Ignite New Growth. Hoje nós vamos estar entrevistando um grande amigo meu de longa data, mas antes de apresentá-lo, deixa eu só te dizer, eu quero dar as boas-vindas a todos, dizer que esse nosso encontro acontece todas as terças-feiras, às 13h30, horário de Brasília. E nós sempre trazemos nossos convidados, são sempre pessoas de grande autoridade em suas áreas. O Rocha.org é uma organização de ex-alunados da Toyota, onde viemos vários de nós da Toyota dos Estados Unidos, Canadá, Japão, Brasil e etc. E hoje nós temos a oportunidade de trazer mais uma grande pessoa de influência e destaque. Antes de começarmos, a Bárbara, que está vindo aqui para a tela, vai nos falar um pouco sobre as novidades. Oi, Bárbara.
Olá, pessoal, boa tarde, sejam muito bem-vindos ao nosso quadro. E para ajudar vocês a complementarem os conhecimentos, além da nossa live de hoje, se você acessar o nosso manual de bordo, você também vai ter acesso ao resumo do livro A Startup Enxuta, que vai ajudar você a identificar os principais pontos dessa startup, o que fazer para tornar a sua empresa enxuta também. Além de também ler sobre o artigo Estratégia de Crescimento de uma Empresa, como encontrá-la. Então, são vários conhecimentos que vocês podem ir adquirindo, além de acesso ao nosso site, várias outras formas de você adquirir mais conhecimentos que estão disponíveis aí para você. E acessando também o nosso manual de bordo, você vai ter acesso a todos os nossos outros episódios. Então, já tivemos vários convidados de referência aqui, como o Sam me mencionou para vocês. Com certeza vale a pena vocês darem uma averiguada para ver o que está esperando por vocês nos nossos episódios anteriores. Além disso, convidar vocês a participarem do nosso Insight premiado. Então, basta você tirar um print da nossa tela em algum momento que você realmente sente que seja muito bacana e válido de compartilhar com seus amigos, postar isso no seu Instagram Stories e marcar @Grupo Voitto e também colocar lá qual foi o insight que você tirou desse momento. Nisso, você posta ali no seu Stories e já vai estar participando do Insight premiado da semana. E você vai estar concorrendo a um kit Voitto ou a um livro de Excel, uma ótima oportunidade para você se desenvolver. No mais, vamos direto aqui então para a nossa live de hoje. Sami, estou liberada, pode chamar o nosso convidado.
Obrigado, Bárbara. Gente, hoje nós temos a oportunidade de conhecer o cara que escreveu um dos meus livros preferidos, meus livros prediletos, que fala sobre policy deployment, o Hoshinkari, ou como fazer as coisas certas, bem. E isso daqui é interessante, porque esse daqui não é só o primeiro livro, ou o segundo, é um dos vários livros que ganharam prêmios ao redor do mundo. Não percam. E ele também, esse nosso convidado, ele também escreveu o prefácio que está na parte de trás aqui, já viu? O prefácio na parte de trás do nosso livro, o Toyota by Toyota. E tem sido um companheiro, um parceiro, e eu o conheci há talvez 2 décadas atrás, mais ou menos. Fui para Toronto, na casa dele, ele mora lá no Canadá. Ele já trouxe a família aqui para San Diego e etc. E as credenciais dele, além de ter trabalhado na Toyota de Cambridge, no Canadá, ele também é é, engenheiro por profissão, mas autor e mentor de vários executivos, muitos dos quais eu conheço. O Pascal ele é o presidente da Lean Pathways e ele é cofundador da Digital Pathways. É uma firma focada em trazer o poder da tecnologia para permitir a transformação digital. Ele já foi para o Brasil, talvez você até tenham visto ele no Brasil, em alguns dos congressos, conferências onde ele esteve, inclusive quando que foi? 2 anos atrás, quase, logo antes da pandemia, ele foi comigo para o Lean Conference Brasil. Então, ele já foi autor de mais de 7 livros, com 4 deles na lista do Shingo Prize de excelência. E adivinha, o cara toca instrumentos musicais como você nunca viu. E ele consegue escrever músicas, então ele é um músico. E também, para completar, como é óbvio, ele pratica Aikido por muitos, muitos anos. Então, ele mora em Toronto e ele está falando direto de Toronto aqui conosco. Pascal Dennis, boas-vindas. Welcome to this Brazilian group here, Pascal. How are you doing?
For the invitation. Can you hear me okay? Very good.
Now we can.
Can you hear me okay? Thank you, Sammy and Barbara, for the invitation to all my Brazilian friends. Boa tarde, amigos. I hope to be able to visit your country again, God willing, sooner rather than later. So thank you for the invitation.
So, Pascal, you just launched a new book, and I like this new book. It has some allusion to that tree, and it shows, the fruit of the tree on the top. Now, I wanted to learn more about this tree and the relationship. If you could just share your backstory, and you talk about Laurent Simon. Who is he? And how did you guys decide to write this book together?
Can you hear me? I just want to confirm. Everything okay?
Yes.
So about 5 years ago, I was sitting in my backyard with my wife, Pamela. We're having a caipirinha, I believe. Our neighbors are Brazilians. So anyhow, my cell phone began to vibrate, and it was a French banker calling me from a flight delay in India. And I said to my wife, this is a very strange call. He said, "Oh, I like your book. Let's write one together." That's a very strange request. Anyhow, we began to correspond and to talk, and I realized that we had much in common. He is a French banker stationed in Singapore, helping major banks transform their business using lean and digital. And I was very interested in the topic, so we decided to meet in person, and that was in South Africa, of all places, which was equidistant. And we shared ideas, and we began our first of very many walks. We've had walks all over the world together: South Africa, San Francisco, Toronto, Singapore, Auckland, New Zealand, wherein we developed a way of thinking, which we call lean digital. And we realized that there was something we could share that could really help companies around the world that were facing very serious competition from technological players and disruptors. So that's our backstory. We learned so much together and began working together, largely in East Asia, that we developed a body of knowledge and a practice, and we thought we have to share this. The result of that is this book, Harnessing Digital Disruption, and our company, Digital Pathways.
It was very timely because, boy, haven't we seen a massive change in the area in recent times. A lot of things. My kids are taking classes online, and they are not only 9. So with all these changes, some companies are positioned well. We are talking about high-tech companies, Amazon, for example. Others are not in such a good, strong position. What is Harnessing Digital Disruption about?
The book is about a major company in big trouble, and it's based on our advising and coaching work the last 5 years. In this case, it's a bank set in Singapore, and each of its 3 businesses, retail banking, commercial banking, and wealth management, is being attacked by smart and well-organized technology players, and they're facing extinction. This is the reality in banking and insurance, but also in many other industries. And each of our listeners can reflect on what the digital vulnerabilities are in their industry. But we wanted to give a realistic movie, if you will, about what companies face, what kind of challenges, what mindsets they have to change, what skill sets they have to learn, and how can they learn to protect their core business from disruptors, but also lay the foundation for new growth. You don't want to just be defensive, because that's kind of like trench warfare. You also want to lay the foundation for new growth. So you want to play the game better, but you want to change the game. So it basically, it's a movie about a company in trouble. It's based on real companies. There's no simple happy ending. The blockers are very real. They're powerful. The challenges are really hard. And at the end of it, the company has survived, but they're still in deep trouble, and they still have to continue their journey.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you, you said Singapore. I know that you had to change a few things there. Did you change the name of the country, or it's really there in Singapore?
We changed the name of the country and the bank, of course. So, yes, we've been working in East Asia, in banking, in consumer goods, in IT services. So our fictional company is an amalgamation of companies that we've worked with the past 5 years, and we changed the location simply because Laurent lived in Singapore, and I love the city as well. And it's also a wonderfully exotic and creative and dynamic place. So it on one level, the book is a love letter to Singapore. So all my favorite places are expressed and described there. So.
Well, that coincidentally is one of my favorite places too. It's a place where my wife, we need to go there. It's really an amazing place.
Yeah.
But let me ask you about the three types of innovation, because how does an organization trigger that, the three types?
Well, as you say, there are three types of innovation. Two of them are about protecting the core, and the third one is about changing the game and igniting new growth. So the first two, protecting the core, are what we call efficiency innovation, and this very, very strongly depends and is rooted in what we learned working, for Toyota, one of the great companies in the world, and the inspiration for me for many, many years. So efficiency variation means playing the game better by taking out the waste, the delay, the overwork, the defects, all the other forms of waste, strengthening our value streams, and improving our customer journeys. The second kind of innovation we call sustaining innovation. So that's taking an existing customer journey and improving it. And our method is called Lean Digital. So we look outside, understand the core customer journeys. In other words, all the experiences, steps, emotions a customer goes through from the moment they're aware of our company all the way through to they've used our product or thinking about it, reflecting on the experience. So identify the key customer journeys. And then the recipe there for sustaining innovation is take out the waste and then digitize what you can. It turns out that we can partner with various skilled tech companies around the world to digitize core activities such as, seeking information, tabulating information, identifying abnormalities or patterns in information. In banking and insurance, validating the identity of the customer. That's obviously critical with anti-money laundering legislation. So we can digitize a lot of that work, a lot of the repetitive, boring work, and thereby free up our people. So the second kind of innovation we call sustaining innovation. So improve your core customer journeys. The third is disruptive innovation. That means changing the game. And this is a lot harder because we have to change our thinking and we have to develop digital literacy. A big part of our company's offering is to develop what we call digital forums, where senior leaders can see practical use cases for drones, Internet of Things, blockchain, data, analytics, all the so-called exponential technologies. So disruptive innovation first means developing the digital literacy. Secondly, connecting with our ecosystem partners. And thirdly, we have to innovate in a very different way. And we have to change our thinking because the first two kinds of innovation basically are about building a zero defect culture, high reliability, etc., low risk. The second kind of innovation is about learning through experimentation. So it's much more risky. So we have to learn how to reduce the risk while learning our way up the innovation tree. We even have to account in a different way. The first two kinds of innovation, we use traditional accounting, so we measure return on investment, for example. The second kind of innovation, disruptive innovation, all the standard accounting measures are zero. We have no market. We have no customers. We have no return on investment. And yet, this may be the key to our future. So how do we account for that? How do we prevent the innovator's dilemma, which would say, well, why are we investing in this? There's zero ROI. Why don't we just keep doing what we're doing? So there are a number of ideas there. Hopefully that makes sense to people.
It does, and it's almost intriguing that we use the same, in the same sentence, the word sustaining and innovation, but now it makes a lot of sense. It looks like you use that sustaining innovation to be able to innovate. That's
exactly right. So we fund our disruptive innovation through efficiency and sustaining innovation. So if we do it right, there's a benevolent cycle, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what stops organizations achieving what you do?
Well, you know, we talk about the fights that we have to win. Probably the biggest one is ignorance. So especially at senior levels, we do not understand exponential technologies. We don't know data, artificial intelligence, blockchain, information, rather Internet of Things, drones, let alone the combination of these things. So ignorance is one. Secondly, we don't understand the innovation methodologies that are based on lean thinking, but are an expression in a digital world. So design thinking, agile ways of working, growth hacking, all of these help us get up that hockey stick curve that of exponential growth. So ignorance is one of the blockers. Another blocker is fear. Much of my personal practice is mentoring and coaching senior executives, and most of them are very good people who want to do the right thing for the community, for the organization, but they're afraid. They do not want to look foolish or incapable or weak in front of their team members, in front of their peers, in front of the board. Another blocker we call diffusion of effort. We have a crisis and we run off in 10 directions. So we need to be able to clarify and express our digital aspiration very, very clearly, and our winning logic. So that means understanding our digital vulnerabilities and developing what we call an innovation thesis. You know, A plus B plus C plus D will help us achieve this digital aspiration, which will help us achieve the overall aspiration. And the last one, we call it guesswork. Because we're in the unknown, we're in the fog, there's a lot of guesswork. You know, we just jump to conclusions. We don't understand how to learn our way up the hockey stick curve. And there are ways of doing it. As a matter of fact, we have an integrated and scalable innovation method that takes the guesswork out of that journey up the hockey stick curve. And essentially what we're doing is thereby buying profit insurance. We have 10 ideas. We have to very quickly cull the bad ideas, identify the one or two, and then gradually invest in them as they validate their offering through data. So thereby you take the guesswork out of innovation and you reduce the risk. You know, so all of those are the four battles we have to win.
And I was particularly interested in this first one. You mentioned ignorance. And it reminds me of that quote from Albert Einstein, that there is the only thing more dangerous than ignorance is arrogance. And is that true that sometimes you find people in your, because there is a question here from Guilherme Bernardes from Brazil, asking you exactly how can you change the mindset of people to stop being arrogant or, you know, and seeking more of that knowledge. Is there any formula for that?
That's a great question. We have to develop people's understanding. from senior leaders all the way to the front line through projects. So we call it project-based learning. So for senior executives, we have what we call executive forums, wherein they connect with local ecosystem partners who are applying breakthrough technology, so they can see with their eyes, this is what artificial intelligence can do for our business. I see it with my eyes. These people make money doing this. Or I'm a life insurance company. If we partner with, the people that have these exercise watches, we can harvest this data, we can gain insight thereby, and we can gain market share. We can reduce insurance rates for those that are in good shape and practice well, and we can adjust our models accordingly. So if I can learn through practical use cases in an environment with my peers, and normally our executive forums are companies that are not competitors, then I can start to relax. Another important offering for us is executive mentorship. It's important for them to be vulnerable. So a good part of my practice and Laurent's practice is working with senior leaders, helping them understand through use cases, and giving them homework, practical work that allows them to build their capability. So for example, the way I built my capability the past 5 years is by projects. My son and I have been building robots and coding and using advanced sensors and learning by doing. So now I feel very comfortable with exponential technologies, with digital technologies. So in a similar way, we want to build the capability and comfort of senior executives, managers, and the front line.
Very good. And the questions keep coming, Pascal. There's one here. I think you're gonna have a. Dario Yanagita is asking you. Please ask Pascal Dennis. I have the impression that a lot of companies are searching for high-tech solutions, just so they feel ahead of the curve. They feel that they are up to date. They are validated in their modern new world, without having the real necessity for that. What is your opinion on that?
It's very common. We call it digital lipstick, so we put a little bit of lipstick on so we can say to the board, look, we're doing digital. It's not a genuine transformation. And if our industry is attacked by smart tech players, we will not be in a good position. So a much better way, which we describe in the book, is what we call the tree metaphor. Everybody wants digital fruit. We want efficiency, innovation, sustaining innovation. We love breakthrough innovation, but in order to get the fruit, you have to prepare the soil. That means the mindset, as I described, the skill sets, as I described, a culture that's comfortable with zero defect management as well as innovative management. So it's a two-gear culture. So first, develop that soil. Then we have to build the trunk. We have to build our muscles for innovation. So that means giving our team members the skills, design thinking, growth hacking, agile ways of working, and the space, the time to do that kind of innovation. We also have to adjust our accounting method to support it. We have to recognize that conventional accounting is good in most of our areas, but it's not helpful for innovation, because innovation metrics are always zero. So our system entails developing what we call like a Shark Tank situation, where if I have an idea, I can present it to the Innovation Council in my area. And if I have some evidence that this might work, I'll get a little bit of money. And then I can keep running experiments. And if I prove that I'm learning and this idea may have some traction, I'll still get a little bit more money. So this is one example of building what we call the pragmatic innovation capability in a company. It's the muscles. And then, so if we have good soil, we build our muscles, then we'll get fruit. Now, of course, we have to think carefully about what kind of fruit we want. That's where the digital innovation strategy is so important. What's our overall aspiration? Where does digital fit into it? And what's our innovation thesis? What are the key technologies? What are the key partnerships we have to build? And how do we make it visible? And As we know in Toyota, we use this concept of an obeya. We call it the lighthouse. We have to have a forum where we can see in real time what's the status of each type of innovation. Do they fit together? Do they build on one another? What are the blockers? And that's the entire management team, end to end, as opposed to just in silos. So all these are examples of how we build genuine innovation capability and avoid, digital lipstick.
Very good. And I think you almost answered the next question from Gabriel Eduardo, but we have just a few more minutes. Probably it's the last question. If we can squeeze in another one, we will. But Gabriel is asking, in Brazil, companies have difficulties to develop the disruptive type of innovation. Now, how can Brazilian companies change the game more? And you know that Brazilians are very creative. So what is missing there? I think you mentioned accounting, practices. Is there anything else?
Yeah, I think probably the biggest blocker is a lack of digital literacy. So it's very important, I think, especially for senior leaders, to see practical use cases and work with people that are outside their comfort zone. So, for example, one of the methods we use, we call it executive hackathons, and we led one in New Zealand not long ago. The idea with a hackathon is that the purpose is to develop digital literacy, develop connections with the local ecosystem, and within 3 days, create something new, create a minimum viable product within 3 days, something that we can test in the way I described, like a Shark Tank kind of a test. So within a hackathon, we'll have a team of 6 or 7 people. One will be an executive, another might be a local hacker, yet another is a local designer. We call them hipsters. Yet another might be an internal business person. And together we ideate, work our way through the practical innovation process, and within 2.5 days, have a minimum viable product for a new business. So it's that kind of capability. And you only build it by doing, so we have other ways as well, but executive hackathons are especially good. Another thing we do is we'll take a small group of people to a company that does this kind of work well. So again, they see with their eyes, this is how you do lean digital. So this company here, we have a partner in California, they're able to digitize boring, repetitive work in insurance and in banking. So searching, tabulating, finding abnormalities, scouring the internet for keywords and validating identities, etc. So they see it with their eyes. They say, oh, okay. The lead time can go from 2 weeks to 2 days with higher reliability thereby. So these are some ideas. I hope that's helpful.
Oh, it is. It is. And can you leave us with some about your wisdom, a piece of advice? What would you give the advice for people who are just starting their journey?
So, as in the book, I'd follow the recipe in the book. I would start with customer experience. Understand your core customer journeys and reform them. Reform them using what we call lean digital methods in the book. So take out the fundamental waste and variation using methods we know well. Then digitize what's left and thereby reform the customer journey. And this is a little bit different. Of course, we have to apply good lean methods and understand the value streams, but we have to be equally good with the customer journey. What's the customer doing, thinking, feeling? What are the customer's jobs to be done? So step one, begin with customer experience reform. While you're doing that, build your foundation for digital innovation. In our practice, we call it Transformation 101. And that means define your digital aspiration, define your winning logic, build the digital literacy within your executive team, build what we call the transformation lighthouse, wherein we can see in real time what's happening, what are the blockers, what's our countermeasure, an obeya, if you will, for your digital transformation.
Very good, Pascal. I really appreciate you taking my invitation, coming here, sharing your wisdom with our Brazilian folks, and hopefully we will see you again here with us. Any final words?
If I could be self-serving, if you're interested, please get a copy of this book. And please go to our website. Our goal as an organization is to share, to create good content, create mentorship, and be a forum for discussion and learning. Longer term, we hope to be a platform where innovators can come, talk to one another, get mentorship, learn, and build innovative ideas and projects based on a shared understanding and partnership.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pascal. We will see each other soon. All right.
Thank you. My pleasure. Thank you all.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. E, gente, que maravilha, hein? O negócio foi muito bom, muito rico. Infelizmente, é muito curto. Ou seja, perdeu, piscou, aí a coisa já foi embora. Semana que vem, nós vamos ter uma convidada, a Amanda Gianpietro. Trabalhou, é executiva por vários anos lá na Toyota e ela era da área de recursos humanos. E o que ela vai poder revelar para a gente vai ser incrível. Inclusive, o grande segredo que todo mundo está perguntando, ou se perguntando. A Toyota, na hora do recrutamento, ela vai lá checar o Facebook dos candidatos ou não? Então, não percam, todas as terças-feiras, às 13h30, nesse canal. Grande abraço a todos. Até mais. Tchau, tchau. Boa semana.